everybody? The Super Vader 400 here, back for another video, and this time, this is my salute and rant on Nickelodeon. I will be talking about all three channels: the main channel Nickelodeon, the sister channels Nick2 and Nicktoons Network, and of course the final channel, the third channel, the fourth channel, Teen Neck. Teen Neck. Before I start this video, just like I said in my Cartoon Network, in my Disney video, which was the video I did before this one, like I said, I am no longer a fan of Nickelodeon. I'm not a fan of children's networks. I'm not that much of a fan of children's or preteen networks anymore, but I still enjoy watching my favorite shows from the past and several cartoons and shows today that are still good. Nickelodeon, in my opinion, it's a little bit better. It's much better now. However, a couple of years ago, it was terrible. And it had been for, believe it or not, actually, it's been terrible for 9 years. 9 years now. It's now good thanks to a new show called Loud House. But for 9 years, the channel had just been terrible with good stuff here and there, but it's just been terrible. I've been a huge fan. I have been a huge fan of Nickelodeon since I think it was 1996 or 95. I can't remember which year exactly. It was 95 or 96 when I got into Nickelodeon. I can't remember which year, but been a huge fan of the channel ever since. The channel, in my opinion, started going downhill in the mid 2000s when a lot of the original shows like Keenan and Kel, Keenan and Kel, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, Dog and stuff disappeared from the network, and they started replacing those with and they started going in a direction similar to Disney Channel and focusing more on live action shows. But at that time, just like with Disney Channel, you could do it at the time. The shows Ned Declassified, Drake and Josh didn't care much for Zoe 101, but these shows were pretty good. So was Romeo's. So was Romeo's, and I think there was another show I watched that was so bad it was good. Just Jordan. Just Jordan. You could do that at the time, but and of course you had Avatar: The Last Air. Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I became a casual goer of when it came out in 2005. I became a huge fan of it towards the in 2007 because I was a huge fan of a similar show, the anime Naruto, and um I was a huge fan of Naruto and Bleach, and that made me give Avatar: The Last Airbender another chance. I don't think Avatar: The Last Airbender plot wise is as good as those two shows I just named, but Avatar: The Last Airbender is still an awesome show. Was still an awesome show and one of the most popular and revolutionary shows from Nickelodeon. But I'm gonna get to that later. And when that show ended, and when Drake and Josh ended, and iCarly debuted, this is when Nickelodeon became trash, man. Became trash. iCarly was the start. I've never liked Nickcoms. They're always cheesy. They're always incredibly cheesy and over the top. But iCarly was the start of all those bad Nickelodeon Nickcoms, which were still around today and are just ruining Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon, when rarely do they ever produce a really good sitcom, but whenever they focus more on cartoons than sitcoms, they're actually an okay channel. But when they try to when they try to be all live action like Disney Channel, just failure, just failure. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. When I first got into Nickelodeon, I was a huge fan of the channel. The first show I saw was Rugrats. Then I saw Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold. Then I saw The Angry Beavers, which I didn't like. Then I saw Kablam, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. Finally happy I found a website with reruns of that. I gotta watch some of those episodes and review them here and review the show here. Then I saw what was the other show I saw? Then I saw Doug, which was actually the first Nicktoon. This was actually the first Nicktoon, with Rugrats being the second, and Rugrats was the most popular Nicktoon around up until the debut of SpongeBob SquarePants. Then I saw Rugrats. Then I saw, I mean, yeah, I mentioned Rugrats. Then I saw Rocket Power, which I didn't like or care for, but I enjoyed. I enjoyed. Then there was Cat Dog, which never cared for. Never really appealed to me, but that was a good show. Then I saw Pelswick, the show about the paraplegic, which was drawn I think by Quadrilic who died in 2010. I didn't really like this show. I didn't really like this show either. I didn't like that show, but that was a good show. There was As Told by Gender, which I enjoyed, but I never really liked this show. I felt something like this belonged on Disney. Something like this belonged on Disney Channel. Seemed more aligned to something that you see on Disney Channel. It didn't feel like Nickelodeon, with the exception of those two brothers who had over the top pranks that you would see on a Nickelodeon. Then of course their live action stuff at that time was good. You have Keenan and Kel, yeah, Keenan and Kel, all that, the Amanda Show, and of course a show I just recently watched for the first, which I recently watched when they did the '90s or all that on TV. Nick, Clarissa Explains All, featuring the actor who starred in the sitcom Sabrina Teenage Witch. A much younger version of herself starred in this show, Clarissa Explains All, which was the first female lead sitcom, which would be the birth of many more um sitcoms featuring females in the lead. So this show was revolutionary. But these right here, and of course Drake and Josh and Ned Declassified from the 2000s, and are the only Nitcoms I actually like. I remember liking True Jackson VP. I'm not sure if I like the show now as much as I did back in 2008 when I was watching it. But yeah, these are only Nitcoms I actually liked. These are only Nitcoms I actually liked. Then of course into the 2000s, I had the 2000s there was SpongeBob, which actually debuted in '99. SpongeBob, which at first I thought SpongeBob was stupid. I thought the idea of a sponge was dumb. Then I was over one of my dad's friend's house, and the people there had the television. The kids there had the television. They were watching SpongeBob. And I remember me and the other people there, we laughed our butts off while watching SpongeBob, man. And I been a huge fan of the show ever since. Even though now in the later seasons, I'm now getting sick of it due to the Nickelodeon's overexposure of the SpongeBob franchise. They still have that on today. That show's been on for almost. That show has been on for 16. That show's been on for 17 years now, and it gets worse and worse with each season, man. It gets worse and worse with each season, and now I'm starting to get sick of the show. But the older episodes of the show and the movie were awesome, and that show should have ended when the creator left. But Nickelodeon, they're so brain dead. They're so brain dead and desperate for ratings and money. They keep that show on longer than it's supposed to be. Then of course you got Fairly Odd Parents, another show that was awesome. Now it is just stale. Seriously, the rules to Fairly Odd Parents is that kids will lose their Fairly Odd Parents, Fairly Godparents when they grow up. Fairly Odd Parents started in 2001. How is Timmy should be in his mid to late 20s now? How is he should be in his late 20s now? How is he still an adult in the 2010s when he was a kid in the 2000s? So when he was a kid in the early 2000s, how is he an adult how is he not an adult in the 2010s? How is he still a kid in the 2010s? The various plot holes and just adding stuff and characters just to keep that show in the air. Once again, desperate for ratings and money that they keep making episodes, and that show is beyond stale, just like SpongeBob. After that Channel Chasers movie and that Jimmy Neutron, when he teamed up with Neutron, that franchise should have ended, man. But that Fairly Odd Parents Invader Zim underrated show. Haven't seen the Butt Ugly Martians in a while, but I remember enjoying that show when it was on. Love Chalk Zone. Chalk Zone, underrated show, man. Chalk Zone was awesome. Then of course there was 2000s All That, which I enjoyed for a while up until I think there was up until one of the cast members, I think it was the Ziggy, the African American guy. He left to become a full time rapper, I think. Keep forgetting his name, but he portrayed a character, a parody of Ziggy, a parody of Ziggy Marley, I think. Yeah, so yeah, 2000s, all that. I actually liked it. 2000s, all that. Even though the 90s, all that is the golden era of all that. But I actually enjoyed 2000, all that. Especially, I think her name is Nia, Nia Marie. I think that's her name. She would later premiere. She would later star as Mr. Mosby's daughter on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, who was probably my favorite of the cast members. Then, of course, um, so yeah, yeah. So yeah. Then of course, My Dad's a Rock Star, which I love that show. I don't remember if that show was good or not, but I remember loving that show. I definitely love the theme song. My Dad's a Rock Star. I also like the My Life as a Teenage Robot. My Life as a Teenage Robot. I hated L.T. Gray. Thought it was a mucho stereotypical mucha lucha rip off. Um, 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 um. Then there was a Cousin Skeeter, the show with the puppets, the show with the puppets, the show with the puppets. I remember watching that, but I don't remember if that show was ever good or not. I don't remember if that show was ever good or not. Then there was another show with the puppets where I can't remember their names, but it was a puppet show. It was a more recent puppet show. I can't remember the name of the show, but looked terrible. Never watched it. Um, then of course, like I said, and then of course Avatar: The Last Airbender, which this show was different because this show was an action adventure cartoon. This show was an action adventure cartoon in contrast to the comedy era, to the comedy cartoons. Like I said, when Avatar: The Last Airbender appeared, I was a casual goer of the show because I was more into the more comedy shows of I was more into the more comedy shows of Nickelodeon, wanted more shows like that. But this was a good show to watch, and I became a huge fan of it in 2007 when I became a huge fan of Naruto. When I became a huge fan of Naruto, and when I became a huge fan of Naruto, and then of course you had what's the other show called again? So yeah, when I became a huge fan of Naruto, um, Naruto and Bleach. And then of course, so yeah, this show and Drake and Josh were pretty much keeping, and Ned's Declassified were pretty much keeping Nick alive. I thought Cartoon Network was much better around this time period, and Disney Channel was probably better too around this time period. Um, then you got 2007 when iCarly debuted, and Drake and Josh surely ended with the Christmas special, which I didn't like, but that was a good ending to the series. And iCarly debuted, and this was the start of bad sitcoms. iCarly is one of the worst sitcoms of all time. I don't like to blame the cast members. The cast members were actually good, and it got better in later seasons because the cast members grew up. But this show was just stupid. This show was just stupid. I think the plots are lame, and I also thought the main plot with the web show was stupid. So you're trying to tell me the methodical AAA who did a hilariously rant on iCarly, you're trying to tell me that the entire world takes time out of their already meaningless lives to watch something even more meaningless, and that's a web show. I'm sorry, that's just up stupid. The iCarly is so popular that everyone in the world knows about it. Everyone in the world knows about it. In real life, popular celebrities like the Nostalgia Critic and Angry Video Game Nerd, who are internet celebrities, not everyone knows who they are. They're internet celebrities. Their popularity is over the internet. Not everyone in real life knows who they are. So Sam and iCarly are that popular that even Japan invited them over. In Japan thought that this web show was the funniest thing ever, and brought them to their country. Like I said, the whole show was just stupid, and it promotes abuse and bullying. It promotes abuse and bullying. That's Snyder's Dan Schneider, who I think is overrated. That's his style. He did good on all that because all that was a sketch. He did good on all that and Amanda because those were sketch comedy shows. He was an executive producer on Keenan and Kel. He wasn't one of the main creators, and even Keenan and Kel, which was awesome, had a lot of dumb moments. So if he was it, you can see some of his terrible stuff on good shows. See the cast the on good shows, and Drake and Josh had a lot of dumb moments too, despite how good that show was. So as you can see, Dan Snyder isn't that good. And Good Burger, which was hated by critics, that was old school Nickelodeon. That was kind of stupid too. So like I said, Dan Snyder is overrated, and the fact that he's still writing sitcoms for creating and writing sitcoms for Nickelodeon now shows you how creatively bankrupt Nickelodeon is, and his sitcoms are just terrible. Because I don't like to blame the actors, but the plots and stuff are just terrible. He's using formulas and stuff that he created in the 90s and early 2000s and still using them today, and it's beyond stale. Then next he created Victorious, which is much better than iCarly, but this show has lots of the same stupidity and dumb crap that iCarly has. This show is much better because it has prettier, his hotter women. It has a much better plot. It has a much better plot, and since the characters are much older, this show is a little bit more mature. But this show is stupid too. And it got even more stupid towards the latter seasons. Like I remember one, they were in a foreign country and they broke something and they killed. I think they even killed. They accidentally killed a fish and they were in prison and they did some choreographed dance in prison. It's stupid. They have this creepy Asian, racist Asian, stereotypical creepy Asian woman, creepy Asian woman. Then of course you got Jade, who of course is annoying. Yeah, the puppet. Okay, the puppet was actually kind of funny and annoying at the same times. The best character is the Sinjin character in my opinion, and Trini's sister, or older sister. Um, yeah, Trini, that's her name. Tori, I think that's the um um Tori, I think that's the younger sister, but Trini, the older sister, is much better. But Jade is like the most annoying character. She's an annoying, stereotypical goth type character. And then of course so yeah, like I said, but this sitcom was terrible too, and I really didn't care when it was canceled because like I said, these sitcoms were like terrible. Then you had True Jackson VP, which I remember liking when I remember actually enjoying it. But then this wasn't as popular as iCarly and as um, Victoria was, so you didn't see this show for a while, and it finished with some season finale in Peru. But I remember actually enjoying it, which I like Kiki Palmer, and I remember enjoying it when it was on. I remember enjoying it when it was on. I don't know if I would still enjoy it today. Then of course there was what's the other sitcom called? This right here this right here was a science fiction, almost science fiction action adventure show. The Troop. I loved this show. I love this show. I love this show. Love this show. It starred the dad from Smart Guy. From Smart Guy. Yeah. Yeah. I actually like this show, so this was a good show. Then of course 2010, one of the good things that happened that year was Nickelodeon buying the rights, was Saban reacquiring the rights of Power Rangers from Disney Channel and creating Power Rangers Super Samurai. Samurai wasn't that good, but I was so happy to see Power Rangers back. My main problem with Samurai was the acting was terrible, even for Power Rangers. The acting wasn't that good. I thought Mega Force, which is universally hated amongst fans, I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but from what I've seen, the show is pretty awesome. I love the costumes, and well, it uses a remix of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme. I love the costume, and the acting and stuff was much better. Acting stuff was better. I have to rewatch the series to give a full in-depth review, and I love Power Rangers Dino Charge, which in my opinion is the best Power Rangers on Nickelodeon now, and probably one of the best of all time. Super Dino Charge and Supercharge, which is the second season, is so awesome. With Supercharge, the second season being way better than the first. So the current Power Ranger series is awesome, and one of the many shows keeping Nickelodeon alive, in my opinion. So that was one of the things they did. Then of course, around this time in 2010s, when I discovered Nicktoons Network, which was much better than the original Nickelodeon, It's not as good now as it was back in 2000, from 2010 to 2013. 13 is when it started going downhill, but it's still a good channel. They show a lot of the classic shows. They show a lot of the show not classic shows, but shows that are currently not airing and currently not airing, like Avatar: Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, which Legend of Korra was um Legend of Korra loved the Legend of Korra, but at the same time could care less about the show. Could care less about the show. Um, then of course you had Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness. I love this show. Monster versus Aliens. Monster versus Aliens. Robot and Monster didn't like this show. It was kind of bland. Fanboy and Chum Chum, the worst cartoon, worst Nickelodeon cartoon of all time, man. I hated this show, man. This show is terrible. It's the worst of all time. It has no redeemable qualities. Then you have shows of today, like Pig Goat Banana, which this show would have been good, but like the fan writer said, you have the I hate the animation palette. The show is just too gross out. Like a it looks like urine, defecation. That looks like urine. A show looks like urine, defecation, and vomit. I said it's not something to look at, but the show actually was good, but I don't like it. Then you have Sanjay and Craig, which this is an actually good show, but I don't really care much for this show. Sanjay and Craig, I really don't care much for this show. Cause Cartoon Network's Adventure Time is so much better than this, so I don't care much for this show. Then of course you got but that's in the cartoon. Then you got Breadwinners. Breadwinners is bad, but to tell you the truth, when I first saw rants on this show, I expected this show to be terrible. I expected this show to be some of the worst thing ever. It's bad, but it is good for kids, and I do love the messages behind friendship. However, this is a terrible cartoon, but it's not like offensively bad. It's not offensively bad. Family and Chum Chum is the worst show of all time. Planet Sheen, I don't like Planet Sheen. It's like Ben the Looney said. Um, you Senator Sheen is too much of a geek and it's too annoying to be a main character of a show. He was annoying in Jimmy Neutron, but he wasn't the main character in Jimmy Neutron. So Planet Sheen, yeah, they didn't like Planet Sheen. And now you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of the other shows keeping Nickelodeon alive. The 2012 Ninja Turtles shows just keeps getting better and better with each season, man. Keeps getting better and better with each season. Then of course you got finally Alvin and the Chipmunks. They were one of the classic cartoons that have long overdue for a remake. I've always wanted them to come back as a cartoon, not those crappy live action films, as a cartoon. And Alvin and the Chipmunks is one of the best shows on Nickelodeon now. Alvin and the Chipmunks, Ninja Turtles, the 2012 Ninja Turtles series, what's the other show? Power Rangers, Dino Charge, and finally, The Loud House are keeping Nickelodeon alive. The Loud House is one of the coolest shows, best shows I've seen in a long time on Nickelodeon. Actually got the well done, Nickelodeon. Well done. I hope this show lasts a long time, man. Loud House is one of the best things that happened to Nickelodeon. I'm gonna watch more episodes to review it soon, but Loud House is one of the best things in a long time to happen to Nickelodeon. Like I said, so the main channel is much better now than it was, let's say 3 to 4 years ago. Then of course, thanks to Loud House, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Ninja Turtles 2012, and the Power Rangers television series, especially Dino Charge airing now. Then of course you got Nicktoons, which is pretty good, but not as good as it was 3 years ago. A lot of the shows Not as good as it was. What's his name? They show too many repeats of live action shows like Bell and the Bulldogs. Henry. Oh yes. Before I get to that, crappy superhero shows. You have the Haunted Hathaways. I just really didn't care much for the show, but I remember the show being actually okay when I saw it. Then of course you had I never watched Wendy and Marvin, the show starring the kid that nerdy kid from Shake It Up and um Jeremy Trainer, Crazy Steve and Spencer from Drake and Josh and iCarly respectively, and of course I never watched that show. Then of course there was the Thundermans, which I remember watching them still. I remember it actually being good, but like I said, I never cared much for the show. Then Henry Danger, oh I hate that show. I hate that show. I hate that show. Terrible jokes, over the top comedy, and yeah. Then now you have Game Shakers, which is terrible. It's so bad it's good. It's only the only redeeming aspects is um is um the blonde haired kid. I keep forgetting his name, but he portrays the goofy character Double G, the son of Double G or Grover, the son of Kel's character Triple G, and Kel and his crew are the saving grace of the show. But this show is terrible, bad dialogue, terrible plots, and just another terrible show created by Dan Snyder. So is Henry Danger. Then of course and I'm not even talking about Fred the show. I didn't watch either one of these shows. Bucket and Skinner looked so trash. I didn't watch that either. So, like I said, How to Rock, I actually like that sitcom, but I think that was kind of terrible too. How to Rock, that was so bad. That was kind of terrible too. But like I said, Disney Channel, they are not good at sitcoms. Then you got Teen Nick, which shows a lot of first off they had 90s and all that. Now they have the Splat, which is much better. I wish they would show the sitcoms, Kenan and Kel, the original, all that, and Clarissa Explains All during the day, because Teen Nick doesn't play anything new. They just show reruns of iCarly, Drake and Josh, which is cool. How to Rock, and I think they remember them showing Degrassi, but I don't know if they show that anymore. Then of course they also had the Life with Boys show, which was pretty funny. Which I don't remember that being good, but I remember enjoying that show too. Then of course you had so as you can see, man, Nickelodeon is much better. Nickelodeon is much better now. Both Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon are much better than Disney Channel right now. Which, apart from Disney XD, the main channel is terrible. Main channel is terrible. So yeah. And another thing that's turned me off of Nickelodeon, besides the low ratings, that turned me off of Nickelodeon for a while was them hearing about actors like um Sam's character on iCarly. I can't remember her name at the moment, but she claims that she was mistreated. She was mistreated. And wasn't paid. She was mistreated by Nickelodeon, and I've heard stories about the actors, that Nickelodeon being ruthless not only to the actors but the producer and executive producers of the creators of these shows. Even the creator of Childhood Roast recently took a risk and came out and talked about horrible regime. Nickelodeon's horrible regime. That's something that turned me off the Nickelodeon. If I ran on WWE for this, I'm definitely gonna ran on Nickelodeon for it. And them not paying, I think Melissa McCartney, I think that's her name. Not paying her money for the, not paying her, a Nickelodeon veteran, over Ariana Grande, who was just the supporting cat character on Victorious, who wasn't that big of a star. Oh yes, and Sam and Cat. Like I said, I was sick of. I never saw Sam and Cat because I was so sick of iCarly and Victoria, so I never saw that show. But when Nickelodeon focuses on cartoons and less on live action, unless it's Power Rangers, they're actually an okay channel. They're actually an okay channel. So yeah, this has been my salute and rant on Nickelodeon. My salute and rant on Nickelodeon. All right. I'm done.